Greetings of the day to all of you. Thank you so much for joining. And I am Anuradha. I'll be your moderator for this session today. And welcome to our fireside chat between our two esteemed panelists, guests, in fact. Anshuman is the co-founder of Incref, and Tapan is the Chief Revenue Officer at Omni. Thank you, Tapan. Thank you, Anshuman, for joining us today.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you very much for calling us on this chat.
Thanks, Anuradha. And then welcome to everyone. Welcome to this session. We will hope that we will add some value to you, and it should be an interesting session for you.
Sure. So we have actually come here to discuss one of the major challenges that our global retail industry experienced during the pandemic. It was the complete transformation, and it was not, I wouldn't say complete, but yes, a transformation of going from one channel to an omni-channel experience. And the last year was kind of new for all of us. And we as consumers, the economic situation pushed us to go seek new channels of shopping. Retailers and brands, on the other hand, were pushed to display themselves across multiple channels and create a one unified shopping experience, a one brand experience. This brand experience is called omni-channel, and it's not an easy thing to achieve. Achieving omni-channel fulfillment for an omni-channel customer is even more challenging, and solving for that challenge is, I think, very close to heart for Anshuman and Tapan, and that is why they are here on the panel with us to help us give insights and solutions and examples on how Incref and Omni helped global brands and retailers overcome this challenge and achieve success in different areas. And of course, in creating an experience that is more uniform, a seamless, delightful customer journey. So we do have a lot to discuss. I'll just hand over the platform to Tapan and Anshuman to take it forward. And to the guests, I would request to, the audience, I would request to share all your questions in the chat box so that I can raise them to Anshuman and Tapan. So, Tapan.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you, Anshuman. Good to meet you on this platform as well. And this session is at a very apt time in the last 1 year, 1.5 years. Due to this very stiff and bad pandemic, we have gone through all scenarios, whether it will be a short time, long time, but definitely we can say that the buying habits of users have changed. So Anshuman, I make a pledge that in this session, I will ask you all detailed questions and I want numbers from you. So whatever numbers which you can share transparently, go ahead and share that. And I will also talk in numbers that what's the kind of percentage change that I see. We have an agreement, Anshuman?
Absolutely. We may not take specific brand names, but happy to discuss about what we have observed across our clients.
Absolutely.
And how the scenario has changed, right? As in what is happening in Indian and international ecosystem.
Very true. Aggregates. So yes, we'll stick to aggregates. So just kicking this off, Anshuman, we all know, and you are across the globe there, that the entire global e-commerce opportunity for 2021 is at $4.8 trillion. Now, this $4.8 trillion is approximately 19.8% of the entire retail market of the world, and this is going to be 21.8% in the next 3 years. Now, this is a massive share. Close to 20% of the entire global formal organized retail is happening on e-commerce. So, Anshuman, my first question to you is, what has the change that you've seen in the last 1.5 years, and what is the trend that you saw, and how the pandemic has changed it? What happened to you? What are the change in behavior you saw? Over to you, Anshuman.
Thanks, Tapan. So I think one of the biggest shift which happened during this pandemic, what could have happened to e-commerce in, let's say, next 5 years, happened in last 1 year. Okay. Consumers were forced to switch channels because offline was practically locked down. And when the markets opened, there was a lot of pent-up demand there. So people jumped into e-commerce. A lot of people who were on fence, who were kind of hesitant to go on e-commerce, right, jumped on it. And then once they started transacting across various need points, right, be it fashion, be it food, be it grocery and medicines and all, the comfort level changed. Okay. And what I observe, at least in our brands, is that the e-commerce shift, as if I compare with last year numbers, on an average, they've grown 3 to 5 times, and which is a massive, massive shift on e-commerce revenue, right? So, and on a personal level, I see my parents, for example, my wife, who were earlier not that comfortable on e-commerce shopping, are now very comfortable. They know that it is genuine, they can trust on it, and they can buy everything, right? So I think that this pandemic helped us get this fence sitter into the game, and which is a big shift.
I agree with you, Anshuman. And just if I may add my side of the points, that the same trend is what I have seen. Uh, Earlier, before pandemic, when I was talking about omni-channel to traditional retails, and they had enough store revenue coming in, they said, yeah, come back later, we'll think about it.
Yeah.
As if I was selling a vitamin. And then now, because of this, it's literally like getting a painkiller. They want it now. And for the folks, all folks who are listening to us, when I mean omni-channel, I mean integrating or from a nearby warehouse, which is near to the customer. So that model was very heavily adopted. And especially what I made, so and like the trend you talked about, Anshuman, is we saw a 10x, a 10 times surge on our platform because the store footfalls had totally dried up there and people wanted to shop. The irony is the brand's customer is omni-channel, but the brand is not omni-channel. Now that's totally ironical, and it was very important for the brand to be omni-channel. Saw lots of good turnarounds, and it was not just survival and improving the business, but customer satisfaction also was achieved. Anshuman, also wanted to see that, in my set of brands, and it is approximately an aggregate of 100 plus brands, I saw the omni-channel percentage move from 3 to 5% of their P&L to approximately 25% to 40% of their overall P&L. That's the kind of impact and surge which I could see. I just want to check with you, what's the trend on percentage or shift on demand that you saw, if you can deep dive a little bit more there.
So, significantly huge, and let me talk about few specific examples, right? So earlier, if you see, a brand focus was only offline, and then they shifted to online, where also they were shifting inventory to the online marketplaces, let them manage the operations. This has shifted to a pure dropship model, where they're now exposing their store inventory, their warehouse inventory, basically the 100% of inventory getting exposed to all marketplaces, to their brand.com, to their e-commerce, or I would say social commerce also, right? So if I look at, let's say, specifically fashion as a category, there is similar trend that earlier it was less than or in single digits, this entire e-commerce plus social commerce or omni commerce and all, and now that is almost 20-25% across few of the brands. I would say everyone, because many took some time to jump into this wagon. But one thing which is happening very clearly is brands are now moving very, very fast. Earlier, if a conversation would take months to close, and you will take 6 months to 12 months to execute that strategy, now that is happening in weeks or months. So you will not take prolonged discussions. The discussions closes in 1 or 2 meetings, and then the brands are looking to execute that strategy in few weeks time, which is a huge shift, right?
Anshul, I don't want to let you go on that too few weeks aspect, because I know that in the past we've faced huge amount of grilling from mostly people who've invested a lot in their IT, and they had huge legacy systems who were running their retail, and talking to them a transformation in a few weeks, how is that possible, how the cloud is helping there. So Anshuman, you want to add a little bit of journey, that how did you see those people turn around seeing the cloud models? Over to you.
Sure, Tapan. So let me give you a few examples again from one of our international journeys, right? So in UK, for one of the largest retail group, they wanted to deploy a system, and typically when they deploy a legacy system, you will talk about at least 8 to 12 months of overall deployment cycle. What we did was we went to the warehouse. We actually deployed the system on one day, and their team were able to use the system same day with few minutes of training, and that's what converted that client. That they said, look, if new age systems can be deployed so in so fast manner, then that's the way to go forward. Okay, and if you see, this helps you in multiple ways, right? Today we are talking about deploying the system across hundreds and thousands of stores. You cannot have a system which takes 12 months to deploy. You need systems which are easy to deploy, cloud hosted, secure at the same time, extremely easy to use, so you don't have to spend months on training people, right? I one thing which I have noticed is even Omni is built on a very simple UI, a very simple interface to use. So if you want to take the audience through that journey, that how did you think about the product when you were building it?
Actually, Anshuman, thank you for picking this question. We have been doing Omnichannel as a company for 7-8+ years now. And we did a big mistake. In the first, our drop 8 years back, we thought, let's build a brand.com, same UI kind of thing, and it will be easier in store. And that was a disaster, because stores want productivity. They want a slick UI. They want it store specific kind of, very easy to use on their mobile phone, tap, and it has to be on the cloud. So we are built on Amazon AWS. And so we scrapped that. And 7 years back, we built it grounds up. So we did 2 separate journeys, a customer journey map and a store journey map. And a store journey map, we built it on a handheld device or on a mobile phone, which will sit on your smartphone. And it sits on the smartphone, and the whole UI is just, 4 or 5 icons for a store to quickly accept the order, which has come from online, quickly scan the order, which they are shipping it out. And we saw that now from a store, and they are fulfilling from marketplaces, they are very comfortably able to do, apart from normal orders, approximately 100 to 120 orders from Omnichannel itself, from a store. So which brings so much of, and of course in the transformation we launched incentive plans also for the store staff to adapt this, and that came in very handy. So what you talked about, Anshuman, the aspect of building it on cloud is very important. Global growth perspective also, the few things which we don't notice but it has happened is the penetration of internet everywhere and the power in a smartphone. So if you see, our smartphones are so powerful now. 20 years back, even the computers were not so powerful. That's the second wave. Third wave is digital payments, and most of the countries have supported this. And fourth is, of course, the taxation and all that. So seeing these 4 waves and utilizing this with the slick UI, the entire transformation is very, very successful. And Anshuman, as you said, we don't do a rip and replace. So the technology sits in the existing stack, and the old model keeps running and the new model gets up as well. I guess same as it is for you, correct, Anshuman?
Pretty much. So see, we understand that for a brand to replace their entire warehousing system would be a mega task, right? Nobody would like to disrupt their entire business and then take a months of deployment time and all. So what we did was created a mechanism where our system sits on top of existing WMS, basically takes care of only the e-commerce fulfillment to start with. So you can start with one brand, maybe a couple of channels, shift some part of inventory, and then see and test the system. Okay. And then slowly, once you get comfortable about how the system is working and your people are comfortable, you keep moving phase-wise your operations to the new system.
Great.
No point trying to disrupt the whole cart in one go. You basically shift gradually and then take over the entire warehousing operations. Okay.
Anshuman, as we are progressing, what I see is, why don't you tell me one example, one case study, that how did you transform any one particular brand, if you can talk about, because it will give people more sequential context that what is the benefit which they achieved, if you can pick up something.
Perfect. So let me talk about one of India's largest fashion brand house. Okay, they have around 16 odd brands. Okay, some they're homegrown brands, some international brands which they have acquired or have licenses and all. So initially what we did was picked up two of their slow moving or not so fast moving brand. Okay, picked up one of their warehouses out of I think 8 odd warehouses and deployed our system in that warehouse, moved those two brands part inventory into our system. Okay, started exposing that inventory to online marketplaces and their brand.com. Once they started seeing the benefit of real-time inventory sync, the benefit of exposing even last piece of inventory to every channel simultaneously without any buffer and all, it automatically resulted in higher exposure, higher rate of sale and all. And that's gave the confidence to the brand that yes, this system or this is the way forward. You cannot have fragmented inventory. You cannot have inventory dedicated to channel. You should expose 100% inventory everywhere. And then they slowly started moving brand by brand and added warehouse to warehouse. And today, after 6 months, we are working across all 16 brands, across all 8 warehouses. And if you see, their e-commerce revenues have grown multi-x, and today that contributes to a significant portion of their overall revenue. Right?
That's fantastic, Anshuman. I just want to repeat the steps that you said. You said you first started small, picked up a couple of small brands out of their 16, 17 brands which they had. You took small but planned steps. For example, you removed the fragmentation in the inventory. You got them an integrated view of the inventory, powered their brand.com from the same assortment, powered their marketplaces. And once the benefits were visible and you had ironed out the entire process, that's the way the brand immediately got the confidence to jump onto the bigger brands and look at a bigger scale, etc. Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely. And just to extend that logic further, right? So today, let's say you are only exposing a part of your inventory to e-commerce, but a big chunk of your inventory, which is for your traditional B2B commerce, is still fragmented. And that's practically true for majority of the brands. They don't keep one common inventory. They will have something dedicated for B2B commerce and then something for e-commerce or Omni.
Actually, Anshuman, you touched on a very delicate point, because that's a perception which I've seen change. And you're absolutely correct. Before the pandemic, a lot of brands used to feel that, oh, e-commerce is mostly OSM, old stock merchandise.
Yes.
And if a customer wants to buy new stock merchandise, the customer will come onto the store. Lo and behold, those trends are completely irrelevant now.
Absolutely.
Huge mix of what is selling right now is new stock merchandise. In fact, there's become a higher chance to sell a full priced merchandise, because all the customer wants is access to the brand.
Yes.
And so fantastic points. Over to you, back to you, Anshuman.
I'll just give you a couple of other interesting examples. Okay, so with one of the brands which sell formal wear and suits and things like that, right? They were very strong in their belief that online is only for old season merchandise. But once they started exposing new season merchandise, they saw even products worth 15,000 Indian rupees selling online. And that was like an eye-opener to them that, look, can people buy such high-value products online without touch and feel? And it was happening, okay? With another footwear brand, what they did was a very interesting experiment, and I think it's path-changing. So they exposed their store inventory, and the way it was exposed was the customer can see only the stores which are closest to them. Okay. And they were able to deliver a majority of store fulfillment within 2 to 3 hours. Okay. It's almost reaching that level where a food or Domino's can come to your house in 30 minutes. Fashion is reaching that level, and that is game changing, right? That instant gratification which it can provide to customers, right? You order now and you get it in 2 hours is phenomenal in terms
Absolutely.
of overall customer experience.
Absolutely. The need for customer experience is totally at a different level. Like we've been doing omni-channel for like 7, 8 years. And we've about sometime around 4 years back, we started building the next wave. For example, what is more than just home delivery? Right now, home delivery is a given.
Yep.
How do you take the experience forward? And as you talked about, we built the journey on journeys of buy online, ship from store. So it could get delivered in a couple of hours or same day or next day, or buy online, pick up in store, the BOPIS or the BORIS, buy online, return in store. So those journeys, and whenever we saw that the customer, whenever came to the store, the customer ended up buying more as well. And which is great. One of the most important point, it is very organic, but very most important point which I saw in the pandemic, which was driving retailers to go omni-channel, was the pressure on working capital.
Yeah.
Whenever they were blocking assortment for each channel specifically, they were blocking a huge amount of working capital. And the interest rates were mounting it. They could not turn around, could not be working capital negative then the credit period if they could, pay that out.
Yeah.
The minute I saw that people were powering the same assortment on all the channels, the assortment was getting cleared up very, very fast.
Absolutely.
And the working capital motivations were always for the brand to,
And it makes your inventory more agile. It exposes it to a larger set of channels. So you are not trying to predict what will sell in which channel. You are exposing everything everywhere and let the customer decide rather than some algo or some merchandiser deciding that, okay, something will sell in channel Amazon, something will sell in eBay, or something will sell in my stores. Why to do that, right? Why to play that prediction game when you can expose 100% inventory everywhere and let the channels decide, right? Tapan, just interestingly, today I was having a discussion with one of the global brands in Japan, and one of the reasons for them to go Omni was their franchisee partners. So when you deal with your franchisee partners, they buy out the inventory in many cases, right? And the inventory is sitting there. For a brand which has some money power and backup capital, they can sustain higher working capital for a little longer period. But for franchisee partners, it's a question of life and death, right? So for the brand, the choice to go Omni was not because of only capturing the customers who are coming online and buying, but also to help their franchisee partners overcome this working capital pressure and just help them liquidate their inventory. So yeah, it just kind of.
You are spot on, Anshuman. I will tell you, as one of the strong categories for us also is electronics. So in electronics, again a very heavily franchisee model. So we were working with a principal of doing omni-channel for all their franchisees. So I just wanted to check with them, why did they doing they said this franchisee network is our lifeline. Pandemic will come and go, but if this franchisee network is not helped, if it is not kept stable, if it is not kept growing, then we are finished for the future also.
Yeah.
And guess what? We did omni-channel for them. They were the entire D2C was a corporate initiative. They were taking orders and they were passing orders to the franchisees based on nearest to the customer location.
Yeah.
And this is a laptop company. So they were passing orders and the franchisee was fulfilling the orders. Also service requests. They had built a service van, which would be in those relevant areas.
Yeah.
Wherever a service request was coming, they were passing this request to the service van. And the service van, because it's impossible for a customer to step out and get their laptop repaired for whatever reason, or their personal device repaired. So they were passing the service lead to the service van. The service van would go next to the customer doorstep, look at the product, repair it, correct it. And they have seen, they said, in electronics, especially in the laptop market, last decade has seen single digit growth.
Yeah.
They saw higher double digits growth in the last year.
Wow.
And the franchisee network is so healthy. It is so thankful to the principal for standing by them. So these are all very long-term important things which a company should do.
Yeah. Well, give you another very, very interesting global example. So we are talking to one of the global beverage company, okay? And their current model is that they will have distributors, sub-distributors and retailers who are servicing all the stores and hotel chains and things like that. And what they're shifting to is literally a omni-channel model where they would have smaller, they would allow the distributors, retailers, even the restaurant partners to see the inventory which is available across warehouses, across their partner warehouses. They can place that order and it will get delivered. Plus, they're taking it step further that they will have a mobile van or a, you can say, a mini warehouse or a dark warehouse. So they know that in this geography, let's say in this pin code, what kind of demand pattern I have from historical references. The van will stock 80-20 rule. So they will stock most of the high selling SKUs for that pin code alone, which is just covering, let's say 2-3 kilometers, 5 kilometers radius. And there are delivery boys who are then picking those orders and delivering to the restaurants or to the partners in a matter of hour or less than that actually. So honestly, there are so many interesting experiments happening in this space.
Absolutely, Anshuman. And I'll just pick up today's newspaper. I have a habit to read Mint.
Okay.
And I read it every day.
Bring it closer. It's not visible.
Maybe there's some little bit of a camera challenge, and maybe take it far, maybe on my face.
So you read it out. You read it out, Kapil.
And there is at least an article coming on e-commerce every day. And today is the innovation being called out by a bestseller group. And in this article, there is everybody participating, Bain and Company and Salesforce and, bestseller group is also there. The kind of, and what's written in the article, and of course, a lot being our customers mentioned in the article as well. So it's very difficult in the current pandemic situation for a brand to predict where the demand is coming from. It could come from the northern part, central part, western part. And if they have a fragmented inventory, they cannot afford that. So it's very important for them, first of all, to have a unified assortment, and wherever the demand is coming, to be able to send the product. And many of these trends, for example, some of these brands are in fast fashion. So in fast fashion, they would do one launch every 15 days. So being a 52-week year, they would do 26 launches in a year.
Wow.
That inventory has to be pushed out. And the more return you have, the more OSM you carry, and the more discounting has to happen. So this whole trend has to be broken. It has to be changed. And Omnichannel is doing a fantastic job. As you know, as one of as our parent company, Arvind Group, we run lots of licensed brands in India like US Polo, Tommy, CK, all those brands, Sephora. Yeah. And we saw that, and luckily we had done Omnichannel for all these brands close to 5 years back. What we saw is in the pandemic, when the interstate logistics chain got strained, and the same could be a situation in Brexit situation. I'm just saying possibly the country boundaries could become harder. Whatever were the state which had local stock, because you don't have to do interstate transit because of the pandemic, interstate transit was not allowed. Those brands available in those states did a huge business. And when I said the huge business, their brand grew, their workforce is happier, and they could protect the job of their entire workforce. The store people found out new roles, and the store's roles got changed. So that's one of the things that, I could see successfully being done.
No, interesting. Tapan, so just kind of taking that discussion a little forward. So when you talked about especially countries which are large geographies, which have multiple state borders, let's take example of Europe, which has multiple countries and borders and all. This becomes really, really critical that you have to have local inventory, and you have to be closer to customers so you don't transit between states or between countries and service them, right? So I think we spotted this trend couple of years back, and one of the things which we built was a very simple algo that, let's say a brand has 6 warehouses. We map the pin code level demand pattern for the brand and decide what inventory should sit in which warehouse, so that you are servicing majority of your orders, customer orders, from the most or from the closest warehouse. Lower logistics cost, faster deliveries, better customer experience. There's like huge advantage to doing that, and brands are shifting to that model. Earlier, brands used to have 1 or 2 warehouses at best. Now they are moving to smaller regional warehouses, or you can call dark warehouses, which can fulfill their online omni customer orders as well as replenish stores faster. Yeah, so that's phenomenal, right?
Absolutely, Anshuman, and totally, and in the same line, the role of a store has changed. Earlier, store was just, okay, you walk in, if you see the product physically, great. But now a store is a nearby fulfillment location. And I'll tell you a story. Some of the brands which went online a couple of years back, they started coming to me, hey, when I'm delivering from a single warehouse, my e-commerce is not profitable, and my return is 35% of my overall. And I said, why is this happening? They said, I take 5 days to deliver a product. I said, 5 days in this world of instant gratification, where forward logistics is everywhere. So then I started doing a P&L for them. So I kept a P&L framework, and I started putting in steps in there. And I'll tell you 2-3 findings out of that P&L. The minute we would do store fulfillment, where there was next day delivery, same day delivery happening, like what you talked about, dark stores, the customer cancellations from 35% came down to below 5%. In some brand, it became less than 1%. Now, can you think saving the cost of 35% of reverse logistics goods?
And loss of revenue, right?
Lots of
revenue. Cost.
Yeah.
A huge loss of revenue.
Loss of revenue. Second important aspect, Anshuman, is same state logistics is 35% priced than an interstate logistics.
Absolutely, yeah.
The minute you start doing that, your logistics cost comes down, your returns and cancellation comes down. And I'll tell you the most secret sauce, which is the furthest but difficult to see, is your stores remain fresh.
Yes.
That's where your stocks keep moving out. It is with the customers. You keep buying and keep getting in new stock merchandise. And your store is so pleasant for a customer to walk and use, actually.
No, absolutely. I think that's hidden benefit, which doesn't come visible upfront. But having fresh stock whenever a customer repeats or comes up again is a huge plus, right? Especially for your loyal customers, because they would come back to the stores after a month or couple of months and be frequent visitors. And if they don't see fresh stocks, it puts them off. Right?
It puts them off. And I'll tell you one, there's a little bit of a tier 2, tier 3 town. They said, so many new launches are happening and the company is not sending new launch to the tier 2, tier 3 city. So they said, can we have a brand wall? So they'll have one product of each on a brand wall. And they did save the sale endless aisle. They had the handheld app on their phone.
Yeah.
Customer can touch and feel the product. They would order it from there, from their handheld device. And the product will be there with the customer next day. Fantastic revenue. The entire channel got scale into 300 new tier 2, tier 3 locations. Major change for the brand.
No, absolutely. And it's a great customer experience. You're
Great
not
customer
out of
experience.
the store feeling disappointed, not getting what you wanted, right?
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
feeling change.
In fact, we created a small framework around it. So we put a 3-point framework. So the 3-point framework is connect. So you first have to connect all your inventories as you were talking about, to have a single assortment that you can power all channel.
Yeah.
Second one is converge. Once you connect all your warehouses and store and get a single view, you converge all channels, all marketplaces, all
On a single platform.
on a single platform where you're getting the single inventory view.
Yeah.
So first is connect, second is converge, and the third step is converse. Once you're having the entire assortment in a single view, you can launch unified promos. You can launch and have a customer data and a customer understanding that, okay, this customer is also buying online, this customer walks in the store also, it's in this much area the marketplace is covering, and so much of intelligence from a targeting perspective and conversation and promotions perspective is possible for that customer.
No, absolutely. Tapan, I'll just take one of the customer questions asked by the audience. So,
okay, sorry, I just got carried.
It's kind of on the same
I
topic,
was about to say that, Anshuman, but then you guys were going in a flow and I didn't want to disturb.
No worries.
There's an open question which is like, when we have omni-channel, then how do you manage offline and online returns in an omni-channel strategy? So,
So I think, and Tapan, let me take a crack at it and then you can add to it. So look, when you're talking about returns, right? A customer who is buying online or a customer who's buying offline, he should have a flexibility to return anywhere he wants, right? It is not mandatory that he should return it back to the origin. So let's say he is bought from online, he has to go back to the online platform and create a return. Or let's say he bought it from offline and he wants to return online, that also should be available. That's the ideal scenario, right? That you should allow return from any channel to any channel. The only challenge which comes in is the ownership of inventory, right? So let's say a customer bought online and he wants to return to a franchisee which is closest to him. Then you are talking about two different owners of inventory. In one case, when he bought the inventory, it was from a brand. Now it is returning to a franchisee, which can be a challenge from a financial reconciliation perspective. But in today's tech world, it is very, very doable, right? Those back-end transactions to do between the franchisee and the brand and the customer is very doable. So brands are trying to push that way, that look, whether you buy it from X store or Y store doesn't matter. I'll give you an example. For example, I recently bought a track for my son, okay? And this was from one of the stores in Bangalore. And incidentally, it didn't come in the right size, or he didn't like it, and we wanted to return it. And this store was some 10 kilometers away. There was another store of the same brand which was a couple of kilometers away. We went to that store, we told them, can we return it here? And they said yes. And it was a pleasant experience that, look, I don't have to go back to the same store to return that piece. They are flexible enough to take back the return in a different store. So it is happening today. 2 years back, it was not happening. You have to go back to the same origin where you bought it. But today that flexibility is happening a lot. Right? Tapan, you want to talk about from your experience?
Absolutely, Anshuman, very well covered. And you covered it very well from a customer standpoint, that the customer should be able to give the return anywhere. What is the perspective from a brand side? Is they should be having the right APIs to handle a return. Because let's say an online order, a customer wants to return, and like Anshuman said, that the customer should be able to book a return using an interface that, okay, I want to return this product. Now that if it is a lot many brands, the brand should have a flexibility that it should be returned to the same store, or they should have a flexibility that they should get returned to the warehouse. And both the methods have their benefits. For example, when it goes to the store, it is from the same store. GST implications, whatever other taxation things in your place that can be taken care of, you can reverse the order and things are done. But the tagging is difficult because the customer might not have sent you the same tags, and those taggings are required. Also, if the order is not inverted on time, let's say there's an end of season sale going on, so lots of return merchandise can lie on the store, and it could, in a rare case, result in pilferage also. So that is something which the store managers have to keep their eyes on and ensure that it happens well. Return to a warehouse has its own benefits. For example, tagging and all is very simpler, but it could be in a franchisee model, it would not be permissible. It's not possible because in a franchisee model, you've already sold it to the franchisee, which is on the store. So, but it's very important that the tech provider should give you the APIs to do it.
And the capability.
And the capability to do that. That's
Tapan, just to add on to it, what we did when we created our omni-channel warehousing solution is we innovated or launched a new concept called serialization of inventory. So if you have, let's say, 1 lakh units in your warehouse, the system provides 1 lakh unique barcode to every piece. Okay. Now you have the capability to track every individual unit from the day it was inverted and to dispatch and to returns. So all the customer has to do is scan that unique barcode and say, I want to return. The system will know which forward order was this piece, which forward order it belongs to, right? It can automatically connect that dot and say, okay, it was dispatched from this store or from this warehouse, and do all the reconciliation automatically.
That's fantastic. This is a fantastic, and that's exactly what you were talking about, Anshuman, is the cloud technologies, the newer technologies are, bringing all these journeys possible to the older stack.
Yeah. And one other very interesting.
Sorry, Anshuman, just a question to that. When we are talking about technology, are we asking for upskilling of the workforce as well, or like what are the skills that we demand from the workforce?
Yeah, actually it is reverse, Anuradha. So with newer technologies and simpler work process flow and simpler UI and UX, it is much easier for workers to handle that. So like Tapan was explaining, the few tap mobile app for stores to handle. Now you can train the store employees in few minutes that, look, these are the 4 taps you have to do and your order is processed, right? I'll give you an example from Incref perspective. So on warehousing, typically when let's say on a packing desk, when a worker is packing any order, earlier, if you see legacy systems, they would have to select the channel, they would have to select the pick list, they have to select the order which they are packing, and so many steps. In a newer piece, what is happening, or newer flow, what is happening is there is a unique barcode which is mapped to the order, customer order automatically when the item is picked. Now all the worker has to do is scan the unique barcode, which is one scan. System knows which order is getting packed. It will print the invoice and the shipping label in one click. So on your screen, instead of multiple drop downs, you have just one text box where you scan the unique barcode. That's it. It's almost like a Google screen where you don't need too many things to search anything, right? You remember old search engines would have, what are you searching? And then multiple drop downs. Are you searching a paper? Are you searching a video and things like that? Google today gives you a flexibility that just type on a text box and it throws out the relevant result. Newer tech is moving towards that, where you have only very few information on the screen. The flow is automated. Nobody has to remember what next to do. And the system takes control of it rather than the person. It's practically no decision making by the worker. You can say foolproofing the system or child-proofing the system. System takes care of every flow, and at every step you can have checks and balances. So learning becomes way easier. You can train people in few minutes rather than few days.
Thank you.
So Tapan, just adding one more interesting bit. So we are into Middle East, and Middle East, is multiple countries, and each customers can buy and return from multiple countries, right? So there, having return being stocked in the closest location to the customer becomes not relevant, because the cost of logistics is so high that, let's say, an order for a Saudi customer which was dispatched from Dubai need not come back to Dubai. It can be stocked in a warehouse closer to Saudi, so that you save on reverse logistics costs. So it's not only return anywhere, but even stock anywhere.
Stock.
Right?
No, you're absolutely right, Anshuman. It has lots of benefits, and the whole traditional school of thought gets a little shifted to the better way of doing business. I was just talking to one of our customers in Dubai in Middle East, and they said the last Ramzan period, they saw 90% of the sale coming back in pre-pandemic period. So they saw levels touch back to 2019 levels up to 90%. Now, as we know that for the world moving forward, the hope is, of course, vaccination, and by that we need to unlock the economies and go forward. The great aspect for the brands, and which is now mandate for them, is to be healthy on working capital, is to have newer ways of retail, is to do omni-channel, and to make the earth more sustainable. All these aspects are very, it's a mandate for them now, because it's like a chance for them to reset and grow in the new way.
Interesting. Tapan, let me switch gear a bit. Okay. So while we talked a lot about the need for omni-channel, or how pandemic has shifted the e-commerce journey or the graph, right? And how omni-channel can be significantly beneficial for both customer and the brands, right? I still see a lot of resistance or a lot of anxiety with brands in terms of when we talk about implementing omni-channel. As per you, what are the biggest challenges? What are the biggest bottlenecks or hurdles they see when the benefits are so clear, right? Still, you see a lot of brands still contemplating about omni and kind of wishing they do it, but not jumping onto it. So where is the challenge?
Yeah, actually, I see a lot of brands hesitating, and it will be a hesitation because there is. They want to see the forward flow, they want to see the return flow, they want to see the cancellation, they want to see the reconciliation. So a little bit of proof in the pudding, like you took in the example of starting small and getting it done rightly. That gives them huge confidence. And the minute you start putting an Excel sheet in place and start also training their store manpower, and I'm more talking from a store standpoint, that in their free time they can pack the goods, and the whole goods can be shipped faster, it will reach to the customer faster. Those things give them a lot of confidence. So starting small, seeing the initial results give them a lot of confidence. They want to also see a lot of examples. So once they are into conversation and very category specific examples, an electronics person wants to see an electronics category example, a fashion kind of an example. Once they see us that you've successfully executed in any different country or for any particular brand in the same category, that confidence builds up a lot. And that generally helps them take a decision. I would say the resistance that I saw from people pre-pandemic, now that is not there. I would say earlier my sales cycle or conversations to a customer were like more than 6 months. I used to talk to them and even explain omni-channel. Now when I say of an omni-channel, they say yeah, we all know all that. Can you give me the program plan how you can implement it?
Interesting.
So that is something. What is your perspective, Anshuman?
In my view, at least that's my perception, that it's the legacy which is holding them back. So when you deploy those big box ERP solutions or WMS, it's like very complex. The deployment takes months, training takes months, and then whole transition or change management is like a mammoth exercise, right? So whenever you talk about deploying a new technology or talking about Omni and all, in my view, that is where there is a lot of
I,
holding them back, that they
I,
would feel that, look, is it going to take the same amount of effort, or are we signing up for another huge chain management, right? So in my
yeah,
view, that's something which is bothering them at the back of the mind, and
correct,
hence kind of holding them back.
correct. And now once you've said it, actually, I can see the surprise in their tones. Like when I say that, okay, this will be done in 3 weeks and we'll go live in 4 weeks. So they are saying, so you're saying actually go live or a pilot or a POC. And I
Yeah.
have to tell them like 5 times, yeah, this is actual go live and we'll be live in 4 weeks. So, and those results arrive very quickly. And the special part here is because of these cloud technologies like we are using, they don't ask them to rip and replace.
Yeah.
The new functionalities sit in the same ecosystem, and they can take their time as phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 to decide what to do. But the changes come from the word go. So that generally a very, very right point, Anshuman very rightly mentioned.
No, fair point.
Just wanted to ask one question. When we are talking about B2C orders, are we also talking here about B2B orders? Is the process of management of orders inventory same for B2B and B2C, when offline and online?
Is it for me or for
No,
Anshuman?
I think
Anybody?
there's another a very interesting question. Okay, so as we were discussing a little earlier, that the whole boundary between B2B and B2C from an inventory perspective is blurring very fast, right? Brands would not like to have fragmented inventory, something for B2B, something for B2C. It is no more OSM, NSM, and all those things. Basically, it is now 100% inventory exposed to all sales channels. Let customer demand decide which channel will fulfill it, right? Uh, in fact, a lot is changing in B2B order fulfillment also. Like we are talking to one of the large agri company, okay, and they are moving their entire B2B fulfillment online. Okay, so instead of having a typical CNF agent and then a distributor and a sub distributor and a retailer, they are basically allowing retailers and distributors to order online. The whole idea is to have 6 or 7 warehouses, so fulfill that fast. Okay, so no more B2B is a traditional channel where you have to place order on calls or WhatsApp or emails. It is all changing very, very fast. B2B is also becoming online friendly faster than we think about it. Right? It's changing pretty fast. In fact, I'll give you an example of publishing house. Okay, so typically, if you see, they would publish books, then distribute it to stores, and you can go and buy, right? This company is trying to change the game. So they have procured licenses or bought content licenses for more than 12 million books. Okay, think about it, 12 million titles. And now the whole idea is they will have printing presses in multiple cities. A customer places an order online, be it retail stores, be it an individual customer. That order will flow into their system. They will print the book and dispatch it within 1 or 2 days. Now that's game changing, right? You are basically saying that, look, I don't have to have a pre-printed stock of books. If something is selling fast, I am able to cater to the demand. If something is a dud, I don't have to waste inventory or block my capital in inventory. So it's a game-changing thing happening in publishing or book industry. And I'm sure this will happen in multiple other industries.
Like you just said about the WhatsApp business, I mean, I'm sure Tapan can add more insights into this, how business is expanding on WhatsApp, how people are selling things on WhatsApp.
Massive.
Amazing.
Tapan, over to you. I think this is right to your area. So
It's right up my alley, and I'm more a B2C guy because I take care of more from the store side fulfillment. The great part is now the fabric of our society and the fabric of is a lot more around commerce. and the customer's footprint is there online. WhatsApp is an application which we wake up to and sleep to, a lot, many of us.
Yeah.
So conversational commerce, not just WhatsApp, be it on or social commerce, you being able to buy on a social channel or a conversational channel. That's something which is a very organic step. China has seen a huge amount of commerce happening on WeChat. The same is expected for other countries to follow as well. If you see from an Indonesia perspective, a 250 million people population, 120 million plus internet connections, huge possibilities there. India, 1.4 billion people, 770 million internet connections. That's a massive number to be there. So both I've seen WhatsApp success stories where customer orders and the brand fulfilled both from a D2C perspective as well. But more so, I've also seen WhatsApp commerce being used for predicting next best action. For example, what I saw in the pandemic is that the store staff had WhatsApp connections to most of the customers, and they could, publish to them the latest stock and merchandise and orders and fulfill orders as well. So that is a great thing which I saw. Another, I know we are getting on top of the hour. Any last questions which you want to ask? Over to you.
And I was just looking at the questions that we have. So I have one question. It says, I face high unfulfillable orders because of receiving orders against inventory which is out of stock. How do I solve this?
Oh, I think it's not only one brand, it's very common pain point across brands. And very frankly, when you are dealing with e-commerce and online sales, even couple of orders not getting fulfilled is a very bad customer experience. So if you see marketplaces like, let's say Amazon and all, they penalize you very heavily if you don't fulfill orders. And one of the reasons why this was happening was when you sync inventory between, let's say, your warehouse or your stores to marketplaces, there's typically a lag of 10-15 minutes. So you cannot do a real-time sync, or I would say it was not happening earlier. But now technology has advanced so much and the integrations are so robust that today we can do practically real-time sync. So from one inventory sync to other inventory sync, we take around 5 to 8 seconds, which was earlier, let's say 15-20 minutes. Now, the moment you are able to do that, even if there is one piece of inventory in your warehouse and you are exposing it to 10 different marketplaces, the moment one customer places an order in any marketplace, you are able to update everyone else saying that, look, I don't have inventory, right? So just to give you an example, during last Myntra URS sale, right, we received more than 1 million orders across brands. And overall fulfillment was 99.99%, right? And this can only happen once you have practically real-time sync, and technology has reached there. So it's a solvable problem, honestly.
I would say if you're doing e-commerce seriously, in answer to this question, you should really, you're at step 1 right now. You should really sort out the inventory related problems immediately, because the whole journey is actually ahead of you. Once you solve and this inventory sync problem, that's the most foundational step. That's the step number 1. You once sort this out, then the journey is ahead where you can sort out for customer experience. And as Anshuman has already said, you need to get that in place, get a concept of safety stock, get your inventory in place. And this is this is a foundational step which you must achieve.
In fact, Tapan, I would say slightly differently. So earlier, what kind of safety stocks should you have? And for each product category, what should be the safety stock based on rate of sale and things was something which people were trying to solve, right? Now, technology is killing that problem altogether. If you have real-time sync, the question of safety stock is out of your ambit, right? You no more solving that problem, you have killed that problem.
Correct, Anshuman. Most of the places, yes. At some of the stores where, sometimes this inventory is not in a sellable position,
Yeah.
So especially in a store model, we do keep a safety stock of one product, etc. So that
No, I understand. Store is a slightly different ballgame because you have customers who are walking in and picking
walking in,
products and all, and which you can't stop. You can't
stop.
say that I have exposed it to online. So
Yeah.
store, I completely understand. I was more coming from a warehouse inventory perspective, which you can have a very clean stock.
Correct.
I think we've met our time, but thank you so much, Anshuman. Thank you, Tapan. I mean, I think it was a very interesting session for all of us, and there are a few more questions which I will email both of you so we can have them resolved. And if the audience has any questions or they even think of anything, then please do email it to us at info@incref.com. I can even type it here if it
info@incref.com. Okay.
Yes, I've just typed it there in the chat. So thank you, everybody. And I'm sure I was writing my notes. So it was a great session for us. Thank you for your time. And I think
thank you for being a wonderful host, and thank you for inviting us. It's always good to catch up with Anshuman. I'm afraid this time it was without coffee and brown drinks, but maybe I'm sure it's gonna be with that too. But fantastic, and thank you for calling me.
It was lovely. Yeah. It was a great conversation and a lot of things to learn, a lot of things to hear about new things and all. Thanks, Tapan. Thanks, Anuradha. Brilliant.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you all for patience.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot for the audience. This was lovely having you all here.
Right.
So pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.